Pittsburgh Church of Christ. My name is Mario, and I'll be leading you in, I guess, very early communion today. All right, so let's go ahead and turn our Bibles to Genesis 39. Go on very early. We're going to be discussing the story of Joseph, really briefly. Can't go over all of it. But I'll go ahead and start us off in verse 1. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. From the time he put him in charge of his household and all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Pharaoh was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. And if we scroll down, we see what happens with Joseph later on. He gets accused, by Potiphar's wife. And we're going a little bit after that to when he's put in prison, in verse 20. So Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. But while Joseph was there in the prison, the Lord was with him. Here we hear that again. He showed his kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden, so that the warden put Joseph in charge of all those held in prison. And he was made responsible for all that was done there. We see this mentioned twice, and we also see this mentioned again later on with the Pharaoh. These three men all see something in Joseph. They see the Lord working in Joseph. Now, how did they see that? Did he have an aura around him, like just a light shining straight from heaven? Or was it, God whispering in their voice, hey, I'm with him? Not really. There must have been something about Joseph that stood out. Something about the way he carried himself, his demeanor, the way he emoted around him. It's like, Was he a man full of depression, anger, bitterness about his life? Remember, he had just been ditched by his brothers, put into slavery, put in prison falsely. Now, you would think this man would be very, very upset, with his life, but that must not have been the case if all these men saw something that they wanted more of. Yeah. So, I just want to put that thought in your minds today before we go into communion. How do you show others God work in your life? How does your life show that the Lord is with you? Yeah. I'll go ahead and pass that on to the singers this morning. All right, now I'm going to lead you in prayer for communion. Go ahead and bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the many blessings that you bestow upon us. Please don't let us forget that is a very important thing. We often forget, due to the trials and tribulations in our lives, that you bless us daily. Give us the ability to turn towards you in those moments and to see you working in our lives. And then we can see you working in our lives and we can show that light to others. God, I just pray that we can enjoy this time together in fellowship and in communion with you. God, thank you for all this. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Oh, I said I wasn't gonna talk about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. Well, I said I wasn't gonna talk about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. What the Lord has done for me. You ought to have been there. Ought to have been there. Jesus saved my soul. You ought to have been there. Ought to have been there when he wrote my name on the road. I started walking, I started talking, I started singing, I started shouting what the Lord has done for me. Well, I said I wasn't going to sing about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. Well, I said I wasn't gonna sing about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. What the Lord has done for me. You ought to have been there. Ought to have been there. Jesus saved my soul. Ought to have been there. Ought to have been there. When he wrote my name on the road. I started walking, I started talking, I started singing, I started shouting what the Lord has done for me. Well, I said I wasn't going to preach about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. No, I couldn't keep it to myself. I couldn't keep it to myself. I said I wasn't going to preach about it, but I couldn't keep it to myself. What the Lord has done for me. You ought to have been there. Ought to have been there. Jesus saved my soul. Ought to have been there. Ought to have been there. He wrote my name on the road. I started walking, I started talking, I started singing, I started shouting what the Lord has done for me. Well, I said I wasn't going to shout about it. I couldn't keep it to myself. I couldn't keep it to myself. I couldn't keep it to myself. Well, I said I wasn't going to shout about it. I couldn't keep it to myself. What the Lord has done for me. You ought to have been there. Ought to have been there. Jesus saved my soul. You ought to have been there. Ought to have been there. He wrote my name on the road. I started walking, I started talking, I started singing, I started shouting what the Lord has done for me.
That concludes our time for communion. Hey guys, my name is Anthony Vines. I have the privilege of helping to serve with the city ministry here in Pittsburgh. And it is my privilege this morning to lead you guys' thoughts and contribution. Today is our last Sunday. It's the last Sunday in October, which means it's the last Sunday collecting for our special missions contribution. And I had planned to share this 2 weeks ago when we did our big special missions contribution, but we had a lot going on in that service, and so we decided to minimize it a little bit. But this particular set of contributions, giving for special missions, is near and dear to my heart. It's something that I've had the privilege of serving on multiple occasions overseas, and honestly have been able to see God work in really incredible ways. As you guys know, right now, I'm sure most of you know, there is a very big conflict going on in Eastern Europe. But 2 years ago, I found myself in Ukraine doing missionary work. And truth be told, that journey started back in 2014, when a guy named Cash McGar came to a campus ministry conference that I had gone to and begged for leaders to come to Europe. He shared this long presentation, essentially looking at the statistics of the privileges that we have here in America, even though sometimes it feels like we're a small church and like we don't have a lot, versus what the typical church in Europe is looking at, and just begged for people to go into the field and to go out, and the harvest was plentiful, but the workers were truly few. And I was moved to tears, and I was like, I want to do that. But that was a young, very dumb, very immature Anthony. And I just wasn't ready. That did not stop me from pursuing opportunities. I tried to go on church planting after church planting. People very wisely said no. There are areas that you need to grow in your character. Maybe not right now. Tried to go and serve in smaller churches, and God kept closing doors. And eventually I grew angry. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm just going to be another contributing member of a church. I'll show up on Sundays, I'll show up on Wednesdays. If you need me to serve in Kids Kingdom, I'll be there. But obviously this is not what is wanted for me. And I got really sad. Honestly, felt very stuck in where I was. But what was funny is I found so much of myself when I finally concentrated on the areas that everyone had told me I needed to grow. I got to really go deep with God and taking a step back and really growing for myself. And then Sean Wooten came to the church that I was a part of, North River down in Atlanta. And it was like, here's this huge opportunity. And I remember him sharing this verse, and it meant something very different. He was sharing it from a different part, but it struck a very different chord in me. In 1 Kings 19, if you guys remember, James shared this verse a few weeks ago, or at least the first part of it. After Elijah leaves that beautiful, powerful moment with God, he actually goes and finds Elisha. And that's where we pick up in verse 19. And it says, Elijah went from there and found Elisha, son of Shaphat. He was plowing with 12 pairs of oxen. He was near the 12th pair. Elijah passed by him and threw his robe over him. He left the oxen, ran after Elijah, and said, please let me kiss my father and mother goodbye. Then I will follow you, Elijah. Elijah said to him, go back. Indeed, what have I done to you? Elisha went back and took his pair of oxen and slaughtered them. He cooked the meat over a fire that he made by burning the harness and the yoke. He gave the people meat, and they ate. They got up and followed Elijah and became his assistant. And he was sharing it from this place of leave everything behind, right? This is a really inspiring verse. Elijah's like, I have all of this. I'm burning it. I'm not coming back. It's cool, right? But for me, I wondered what Elisha was feeling in this moment. What was Elisha? How many times had Elisha seen Elijah do something incredible? Elijah was well known throughout this land. He had done many miracles at this point. And I wonder if Elisha had been waiting to be a part of this. His response seems like he wanted to do this, right? It was a huge honor. He's like, I'm coming. He burns oxen in a plow. That was not cheap during that day. He's like, I'm done. I'm not coming back here. And he leaves everything to follow God. Now, the beauty of being a part of the kingdom today is that you don't have to wait for a prophet to throw his cloak on you. Jesus already has done that. Jesus has already called each and every one of you into his kingdom. He's called each and every one of you into the field to do work. We're collecting for special missions in a very financial way today, but I think I would also like to leave each of you with the heart of what has God called you to do in your lives, in your communities, in your small everyday, the people you interact with. What are things that what have you settled for in the mundane? What's your plow? Where you're like, this is my daily work, I'm just gonna stay here. And what is God calling you to do greater things in? Have you settled for the mundane like I had? Are you still looking for opportunities to serve God in your daily life? Are you looking for ways to live out the mission in your daily interactions with people? Are you looking for opportunities to do great things for God? If the answer is no to any of these questions, then I challenge you to examine that and to begin looking for those opportunities. Begin looking for a way to be a part of the mission, because honestly, this life is so much more fulfilling when you are. Begin looking for ways to walk with God closer and closer every day, because he's already called you to that. The cloak has been thrown. Will you bring it on? Now we're going to pass the trays. The first tray is for just administrative needs, taking care of finance. Actually, first tray is for communion. Don't throw your money in there. First tray is for your trash. That would be bad. Second tray is for our administrative needs. That's taking care of the salaries for people who work to keep this place running. It's taking care of what it costs to rent this place out. It's taking care of the different events that we get to go to, that you get to send your children to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The second tray is for our special missions. It usually is for benevolence. This is going to be the last Sunday of the month where we're collecting for special missions. So we can go ahead and pass the trays. Yeah. Huh? Right. That's fair. I was like, why are they looking at me? I was going to pray at the end. Dear God, thank you so much for using even people who forget to pray. God, I'm so grateful that I don't have to wait for someone to run by and throw his cloak on me. That you've already called me into your field, God. That you've already said, come work, God. That you've already allowed your spirit to live within me, God. That you're already waiting to move in powerful ways in my life, God. That you said the workers are few, but the harvest is plentiful. That's a promise you made. God, I pray that we're able to live in that truth every single day, that we're able to celebrate that truth every single day, and that we're really able to see our faith grown by the ways that you move when we step out. We pray all these things in your name. Amen. As I already said, today is the last day in October for giving to special missions for Malaysia and local missions. This Wednesday, we have congregational midweek. That'll be on Zoom. If you don't know where to find that, you go to our website, and it'll be under midweek. It says click here. You click there, and it'll take you right to the meeting. Next Sunday, we will be right back here. And then this upcoming Friday, the city ministry will be having Sabbath at the Rosen Place, which is we're very excited for. Elena seems shocked by that news. Surprise! And that is all we have. I'm going to invite the song ministry back.